Hello everyone, here is me awkwardly waving in the company of a water bottle, lights and 2 bicycles. Yeah, because I use one to commute to work, because apparently they are allowed. I mean, folding bikes are allowed in the London Underground, as I was told. So, going back to just recap what we talked about. I talked about famous Hungarians, not by name, but that I was talking about trying to make a point that famous Hungarians are there in the world, but I am not sure that there is any correlation between the country and the amount of famous people, because I keep hearing that famous Portuguese people, famous Mexican people, famous German people, and all sorts of stuff. So basically, I guess my point is that famous people come from everywhere. Yeah. So, and then I talked about just an example, the name Béla Lugosi, pronounced like that, which is well, to me it sounds ridiculous, but then again, if you are a Hungarian in Hollywood making films, people pronounce your name, you'll go with it. They give you money, why wouldn't you go with it? And then they don't know, I mean, so let me just show you. So this is the guy I was talking about, and if you look for him, then you get this gentleman, quite vampiric, and the pronunciation is not Béla Lugosi. Oh, by the way, this gives me the perfect opportunity, since I'm talking about pronunciation, to say, probably not for the first time, but not for the last time either, that in Hungarian, in any given word, no exception at all whatsoever, nothing, the emphasis is always on the first syllable. Always on the first. So the main reason for me this name sounds strange is simply because they put the emphasis on the last syllable, Lugosi. So it's not really that the S is pronounced S and not sh, which is, you know, stuff like that, but that the emphasis is on the wrong syllable. And I know it took me years to master emphasis in English, and I'm pretty sure that I made mistakes all the time, because my heritage is from a language that puts the emphasis on the first syllable all the time, every time, no exceptions. So there you go. I can write it down for you to make it look like a lesson. So, rule. In Hungarian, since we are talking about Hungarian, the emphasis is always on the first syllable. And I'm gonna Google this because that's what I usually do. And it turns out that I spelled it correctly. Amazing! I amaze myself from time to time. Oh, sorry, wrong screen. There. This is more effective for you, because now you can see what I've wrote. So, going back to this whole thing, Lugosi, and then of course the S is pronounced esh, much like in Portuguese. So if you are a Portuguese person, chances are that you excel in Hungarian, at least when it comes to pronouncing the S, but maybe not in others. So Béla Lugosi. And that's pretty much it. There you go. It's fantastic. It's lovely. And everything is great. I even have my blue bowl that I, brought from Hungary. Because I drove here. Because I was more efficient. Because I could take like lots of stuff. So let me check. Let us check actually who wrote what. Let's see. Kids chat. No, what's the secret to a good goulash? Oh yeah, that would be, well, what's the secret to a good goulash? Okay, so look, I'm not the best cook in the world, so we can look at a recipe from a non-scientific point of view. I can point out what are the most important things. And not when it comes to cooking, it's not really about, there is a certain mixture that you want to create when cooking, and there is a certain sort of percentage of the ingredients that you want to get in there, and that's cool, but the truth is that you could go anyway and it's fine. So let's look at stuff in Hungarian, because that's the best. Let's see. Lots of gulyás. Obviously every single person does it differently. Well, I want to show my location, that's fine. What? I have not done that. I did not subscribe. Okay. Well, now I can't choose. This is just so much food. Okay. Anyways, so oh no, I have to stop. Oh good lord, so much food. Okay, let's try number 4. Who could go wrong with gulyás number 4? That's perfectly fine. No. Oh god damn it. This recipe place is horrible. Oh, finally. There you go. Now, so this is a fairly simple recipe, and let me just put it here. So, and that would be gulyás number 4. There you go. And hozzávalók, meaning ingredients. You see, this just pop up after pop up. That's poor. Okay, look. Now I'm not sure what you should buy. Any type of meat is good. In this case, this is beef. And then there are parts of the cow that you should use, but I am the last person who knows what's the difference between the things. Meat is meat in this case. You can't make a goulash. Traditionally, goulash is of cow, not from or the pig, like swine, not from chicken. So you can't buy chicken wings and expect to create goulash. You need some sort of big chunk of meat. Now that you have the big chunk of meat, then you need one, aka one onion. That's the red kind of onion. So far so good, nothing special. And then you need paprika, and this kind of paprika is something that's this one. It could be spicy or less spicy. Do not go with this kind of paprika, but this is the one. I mean, obviously, just to know, because I know you love it when I don't follow a strict topic and just like you know, ramble off. I know you hate it. But I do it anyway. You can use chili or any sort of paprika. The thing is that because you live in a different country, chances are that you live in a different country, you have different kinds of meats. They taste different. You have different kind of onions. They taste different. So obviously the short answer is that you can do a typical Hungarian gulyás in typical Hungary. In London, I happen to know that there are some Hungarian stores that they import stuff from Hungary. You could go with that, but you know, I think the principle is that you get close to the experience, not the exact, because then you have to be a Hungarian, speaking Hungarian, having big mustache, and sort of like, because the people who actually made gulyás, and the reason it takes like 3 hours to make, you know, just leave it to cook there, is because the people who invented these kind of things, they were herders, sheep, cow, whatever, and they put the thing in a cauldron or whatever. I misspelled it. Oh, and I misspelled it so much that it became chlorine. I have no way of spelling it, but anyways, I'm just going with the Hungarian name. So there. So basically what they did was take this kind of thing and then just leave it there for 3 hours, for God's sake. You know, like put all the stuff in there, well, most of it, and then you just go there and do stuff. Oh, anyways. So let's go on. That's a paprika, tomato, you might know that, oil, and this one is a tablespoon of oil. Let's see if I have a tablespoon. Oh, I have a fork. So that's cool. That is what I think I need to do the dishes quite soon. Anyways, you can imagine that it's the bigger one, not the like teaspoon or something. Okay, joke's over. And then you need this thing, which is red pepper, grinded indeed. It's the sweet kind. You need 3 teaspoons. I'm sorry, big proper spoons. Lots of, that's a lot. I mean, imagine you don't just put there some of it. You like, you know, let's see. Oh god, I don't know. I mean, Google failed me. How about this? Does it work? I don't think so. Nah, it doesn't. But anyways, so the point I'm trying to make, I just can't. The point I'm trying to make is this. This is the key. I mean, you can put all the other stuff, or whatnot. You can put the, you can, you know, get special American beef. Tastes different, fine. You can get special, I don't know, Japanese tomato. It tastes different. It's fine. The only thing that defines Hungarian food is salt. It's kind of salty, and this kind of grinded pepper, which is amazing. You can get 2 kinds. You can get the sweet kind or the spicy kind. And the spicy kind is just, Jesus Christ, that's spicy. Anyways, so usually get they are of course insanely cheap, and this one is obviously the Hungarian branded whatever one. No, go to a Hungarian store, just buy the cheap one, or go to Hungary, go to a supermarket, Tesco, Auchan, whatever, just buy something that resembles grinded paprika. The bigger you buy, cheaper it gets. Really, it's like a, I don't know, $2 for like life supply of something. Anyways, okay, so you go there, fantastic, brilliant, awesome, and then you've got like carrots and the other kind of carrots, which is the white kind of carrot. I don't know what that's called in English because I'm horrible with this one. If you ever seen something like this, you can tell me. I'm not shy. I'm just not knowledgeable when it comes to this kind of food stuff. And then of course potato, the pinnacle, the base, the other kind of base of Hungarian food. You take potato, take the grinded paprika and make it into a food, and everything else that comes along, that's really just along, that is just along for the ride. It's just there. It's just, you know, because you need vegetables, you need meat, but Hungarian is not about meat, it's not about the vegetables, it's about the potatoes and the paprika. That is a thing. It's brilliant. And then some other stuff I just refuse to remember. Obviously you can use Google Translate for that, but this is the thing. Kömény. And then some sort of pasta. I don't care about the pasta, really. You can just do whatever. You can do this. I mean, this is my favorite. Tarhonya. It's fun, but you can do csipetke, which a lot more fun. And as a kid, I've done it so much with my grandparents. So what you do is find the recipe, which is like flour, an egg, and stuff, whatever, and then you spend a lifetime. Instead of playing games, going to the lake shore to have fun, no. You spend time, hours, a whole afternoon, to make a tiny amount of this. Because the way it works is that you roll the pasta, the dough, up, you take a tiny piece and you start rolling it, and then it becomes like a long tiny snake, like a really thin anorexic snake, and then you cut it up, but like tiny pieces, Jesus. And then when you cut up enough, you go like this, ooh yeah, to make them a little bit rounder. But the idea behind that kind of pasta is that it's not perfect, but this is fun, kind of fun to make, as opposed to stropacska, which is the kind of it is the kind of pasta that you have to have a big bowl of steaming hot water, and you put a special thing on the top, and then you put some dough that sticks everywhere, and then you have a special spatula, and then just go like this and that, and then just for hours at a time in that steaming hot, gluey, sticky, insanely hot, horrid kitchen. It's insanely tasty. So if you ever make it, usually it's a good idea, not, you know, one person making it and that person receives like a shitload of money for the suffering, and then others will eat it, because you will eat it in like 2 minutes. Because to make this one you have to suffer 5 million years, and then to make a whole bowl of them you have to suffer like 10 million years. That scale is the most horrific scale I've ever come up with. Anyways, so whatever, just use something, it doesn't matter. And then you've got the salt, and then you've got this string. Now I know that you're going to say that, oh yes, of course, Chris, that is the thing, because we can't have that and you can't buy it. And yes, I know it did not lie though. Potato and the paprika is really the thing. But to make life easier for Hungarians, we can have a tiny tube of gulyáskrém, which is sort of like a compressed spices and stuff. So that's why in this recipe there are no spices. Look at it. It's so plain. All because we have this crazy thing, and then you buy that in any local supermarket for like 5 pennies, and then you have your gulyás. So there you have it. There is an authentic, approved by me recipe of gulyás. This is how I would make it. I rarely make it though. This is how my mom would make it. She rarely makes it too. It runs in the family, I guess. And more or less this is how my dad would make it. And this is probably how my grandmother would make it. And yeah, cause like my family is sort of like from the same countryside. But if you go west, and my family comes from the east, if you go west, people are slightly different and they use different, but not essentially too different. It's just they might use different kinds of onions, and they might put more onions in. Some people put some people like it with sour cream, but that of course is after the whole cooking process. You just put sour cream in it. Some people like it differently, so there are loads and loads of recipes. Now what I can do here is that I can give you the actual recipe in Hungarian, but unfortunately for you, you have to wait for the next streaming, which will happen. I will not stray away anymore. Next week, definitely stuff will happen again. Just you and me and the food. And then we will solve this mystery of what to do. But it looks good. From my perspective, sure. I mean, you can go like 2 by 2 centimeter stuff. You know, cut whatever you want, the way you want. The thing is that if you want to do the original sheep herder kind of recipe, then you have to slice things up into kind of tiny pieces, like maybe you have your thumb and like this much. Oh, here you go. There, the top. Oh, good lord, I don't have props. Anyways, you will just imagine it, I'm sure. You're a clever person anyways, and you're watching the stream. That makes you clever. Well, I mean, the stream doesn't make you clever because I'm rambling about stuff, but the fact that you're watching, it's a great choice, that's what I'm saying. I'm horrible at marketing. Here I am just being rude to everyone while I was trying to compliment you. I'll stop and go back to the food stuff. So, okay, let's take a short break, as in let me recap what happened with all the streaming stuff, because that's stuff. Translation. Okay, so that's the next part. Now it's happening, and we are going to translate stuff from Hungarian to English. Usually I prefer the reversed situation, the other way around, because it's much more fun to translate stuff from your original language, or at least from English, to Hungarian, or better yet, create sentences just out of nothing. That is, in my little world, the base of all the languages. If you want to learn a language on any sort of deep level, you do it by creating sentences. In this case though, we are not going to create sentences, we are going to understand them. So here, let me just try to understand. So there was a solution in there, I have given some advice, and here goes the thing. This is kind of heavy, because if you look in the dictionary, hely means place, helyzet means situation. I mean, in Hungarian, as you can see, we only attached something and then the whole world changed, because that's the way, that's the Hungarian way. That's how we can make Hungary great again. Now that doesn't sound really good. And then I made a mistake here, and now me equals what? And of course Hungarian does not use any oh, I can't use this, any sort of verb in this case, but it would be what is the situation equals what's up. Simple as that. Now how about this insanely brilliant answer, which you can find in a dictionary because it means nothing. Now, as a person who is actively pursuing learning Hungarian, you might think that, hey, Chris, or whoever, your teacher or imaginary friend who in this craziness helps you to learn Hungarian and not go crazy, but you have already sort of like become crazy. I see a word there. It's here. It's sham, and then the other one is me. There must be a connection. There must be something there. It's one of them means what, and then the other is something else. I recognize it. It means either or neither, depending on the situation. And then you go just, you know, it's like watching a KGB agent going crazy over some sort of lunatic who he thinks that is a great spy, aka like 80s comedy movies in Hollywood. No, there's nothing like that. Unfortunately, you're just unlucky to recognize stuff there. But then, at other times, you will find something there and you will recognize the attachments. So you see, I understand, from your perspective, it's crazy. Like, in one situation, I, the professor of the language, or pretend professor of the language, tell you that look for the root of the word, look for the attachments you recognize. And then, at other times, in other situations, I tell you that there is nothing to see here, move along. And then you just sort of like give up, which I understand, but don't. Do not give up. Mostly the trick is that when you find the root, it's always just a word that makes sense, or two words making a clear compound word. but they have to make sense alone. Hence they are compound words. So in this case shem and me cannot be used alone, so it's not a compound word. And neither shem nor me are attachments. So basically, just to recap again, the way you do this is, if it's a compound word, that means two root words, they each have to make sense alone. That's rule number one. And then rule number two, when you're finding the root, you must see one of the root, like one word as the root word that makes sense, that clearly means something, has a meaning, a verb, a noun, something, and then you see and recognize the attachments. So that's how you do it. Oh, sorry. So, okay, now, so that's just nothing. And then this one, how? Hungarian is one of those languages that where we just love, I don't know why, but we love repeating short words. You can hear Hungarians, the short word ja is something that clearly shows that you agree with that person. Somebody says that, yeah, the weather is quite nice, and you go, yeah. Now, basically what you can do is repeat it 3 times when you really want them to know that you agree. So instead of being clear and nice about it like English people would, that like, oh yeah, I see where you're coming from, instead of that you go, yeah, yeah, yeah. That's enough. So, in this case, in English you would never say how. I just want to write it down. LOL. So there. And now we've got 2 sentences. One of the sentences features the word nem, which is no, not, and then tud, which is to know, to be able to, in this case it's to know, and then of course this is something that is basically an attachment on a verb. And if you look up verbix, for instance, let me show you. If you go to verbix, there you go. And then you enter the word tud, you'll soon find out, ooh, what a nice table, that you find it here. It's I and definite. Definite because you're answering something that you know, just they were asking about, like what, why, how, and then you say I don't know that particular thing you are asking for, and not tudok, which would mean I just don't know things in general. So there, let me share the link very quickly for those who are following live. And now let's go back to the task at hand. Oh, what? I cannot share stuff. But why? Why? I guess I cannot share links. Anyways, I'm gonna just put the link here into the description, and it will be there in 2 seconds. So, having that fiasco behind us, let me just continue. Nincs, basically it means nem one, although we would never ever say that, so that is just, you know, people will laugh at you, but basically it's the equivalent of nem one. It means you know, it's not, sort of, because that's what it means. And then semmi, again, nothing. And extra, oh, you're going to love this, it means extra. But we also have something like különleges, that also means extra. So there you have it. If you try to figure this out, it is not, nothing, and extra. So basically there's nothing extra. In this case, I don't know, nothing special. Well, let me just do that. There, that works. Cool. So there you have it. It is the translation. It is a fun translation. And basically that concludes the second session of this streaming. Now I will be here for a little while, but then probably the video concludes here. So if you're watching the video, thank you very much. It's been ages that I've done this. I still love it, and thank you for following me and all that sort of stuff. And remember to look at Facebook for the next stream. Then you go to facebook.com/Hungarian online, and then there you have it. You'll find the translation in the description with all the links and all the info that you need. And thank you again. And see you next week, hopefully, or just like in the next video, basically. And now you can look at cows.